What's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. Welcome to yet another episode of Action Movie Anatomy on the Popcorn Talk Network. Today, we're going to be talking about Fast 5, the fifth installment in the insane Fast and the Furious franchise as we lead up to the release of Fast 8 next year. This is the one. This is the one where we met Luke Hobbs, The Rock. Oh my God, the body butter. We'll see you guys in just a second. Stick around.
Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk. We talk movies. And now, here's Popcorn Talk's Action Movie Anatomy.
Boom! What's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. Welcome to Fast 5. I want some revving engine noises right now. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Welcome to the show. Welcome to yet another episode of our wonderful show that we love to do, Action Movie Anatomy on the Popcorn Talk Network, the online broadcast network dedicated to talking movies and all things movie-related. I'm your host, Ben Bateman, joined today by a man in a purple shirt, Mr. Andrew Ghai.
Hello. I'm here. What is up, everybody? This is, I think, the second time I've seen this movie, and it is very entertaining. It's a little long.
It's good.
It's a little longer than it should be.
Yep.
But it is very, very entertaining, and I'm actually very proud of my thesis statement this week.
I wonder if it's similar to mine. I like my thesis statement on this one a lot.
I feel like it probably is.
Yeah, we'll get to it. But this is Action Movie Anatomy, guys. We talk about movies on the show. We talk about action movies on the show, and those action movies adhere to four basic rules. Rule number one: the hero always plays by their own rules. This is an ensemble movie, so it's kind of unclear who the hero even really is. But
is this another one of those situations where it's a combination of hero?
Because you think it's because Diesel and Walker create the hero,
the perfect hero.
But then also, Hobbs is, an integral part of why this movie's sweet, so, he also becomes part of the hero.
Yeah, he really does.
Yeah.
He's the Gerard, Samuel Gerard.
He's as close to Gerard as it gets.
Yeah.
Incidentally, Tommy Lee Jones was supposed to play him.
Isn't that crazy?
It's so funny. They originally cast Tommy Lee Jones to play the role.
Imagine the fist fight between Tommy Lee Jones and Vin Diesel.
It wouldn't have been a fist fight. It wouldn't have been a fist fight.
It would have been a chess match.
Yeah, it would have been a chess match, exactly. Or it would have just been just Vin Diesel bound on the ground and just Tommy Lee just hitting him with his cane over and over again, over and over again until Vin Diesel finally broke out and just beat the crap out of him. Yeah. I'm gonna beat the crap out of you.
I don't know. We gotta work on our Vin impersonation. I feel like it's a good one, but it's tough.
Yeah, it's hard. You gotta talk really slowly.
Yeah, you do.
So, in any case, that's rule number one. The hero always plays with their own rules. Rule number two, the hero and the villain are always the smartest people in the room. That includes beings, dinosaurs, whatever. Just the smartest things. And
aliens.
Yeah, it's weird because, again, The Rock is kind of the villain, but he's also kind of part of the hero.
Right.
As the villain, he's definitely the smartest guy in the room.
Yes. And Joaquim de Almeida.
Yeah.
Dude, that was that. Okay, yeah. Anyway, he is not.
No.
He's just, that's the thing with so many of these movies, and it started to happen with the Mission Impossible movies a lot too, is it's not about the good guy versus the bad guy. It's about the good guys accomplishing a mission or something like that, or getting something done, whereas the bad guy's just a placeholder.
It is weird how that happens nowadays. You see it in the ensemble movies a lot like this, and they've actually done the same thing with several of the Fast movies now.
Yeah.
Because I want to say the villain in the fourth one, who I don't really quite recall, is also similarly uninteresting.
I don't remember at all.
Yeah, that should...
They all... we were literally just talking about this while we're waiting for the internet to come up. All these movies blend together.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's really hard. It's a really... if you put them all together in a row and you watch 9 hours of Fast and Furious,
yeah,
it would feel fine. You know?
Is there a scene at the end of one of them where Gal Gadot and Han are falling off an airplane, they both die in the same moment or something? She dies and he lets himself go or something?
I think at the end of
6?
Tokyo Drift, is it?
No, because I've actually never watched the third one. I've never seen Tokyo Drift.
I know that Han gets killed, at the very end of 6, it's the clip of him getting killed. So that they used from, I think, the end of Tokyo Drift.
Got it.
And that's how they carry on the story over to 7.
Yeah.
With Jason Statham as the bad guy.
Yeah, well, whatever it is, I totally agree with you. I can't remember how this works. The rule number 3 is the movie is driven by a police, military, or political figure. That also could be mercenary. O'Connor
used to be a cop.
And Vin Diesel is definitely not really a mercenary. He's just a criminal.
Yeah.
But then also Hobbs is he's a cop. So
he is.
It's loose, but it works. And then of course, rule number 4: the movie contains a minimum of 1 explosion. Well, these movies have no shortage of explosions.
No, they don't.
There's enough explosion in The Rock's biceps in this movie.
Dude, he is so jacked.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
It's unbelievable.
It's beautiful.
It's really amazing.
It's really just like when you watched Arnold back in the day, to go from Commando to this movie.
Yeah.
And then you see how, because he's insanely huge.
Yeah, he's just he's like so roided out. It's just like you're like, you people don't look like that.
And it's great because like him and Vin Diesel go hand to hand, and just because for some reason Vin Diesel has massive arms, it makes it look like it's a real fight. Even though Vin Diesel's just kind of fat,
right?
But he has like nice arms.
Yeah, but he's just like. It's not even that he's fat. It's
he's
just
like a slab.
It's just that The Rock is like he looks like Adonis, and like The Rock is just like it's like unreal. But I have to wonder like, will there be a moment in my life where I ever get to interview The Rock and he just cops to the roids? Like I hope that there's a moment when he's
the
like
roids.
Yeah,
with a big smile.
20 or 30 years from now, when like The Rock is like sort of like winding into that second phase of his career, he's like in his 60s or 70s.
Kind of like what Arnold did too, right? Because Arnold admitted it.
Yeah, he's like pretty open about it now. I want to just be talking to The Rock one day and just be like, oh my God, let me tell you.
I was on so much horse. Dude, JK, him and JK should have a bicep off.
Yeah, Simmons.
He's got to be on HGH.
He's got to be.
He's like 60.
Yeah, but looks amazing.
Simmons is actually getting help from The Rock's personal trainer.
There you go.
Yeah, not surprising.
There you go.
So those are the 4 rules of action movie anatomy. Of course, I'm the host, Ben Bateman. You can find me at Ben Bateman Media on Twitter and Instagram. And Mr. Andrew Ghai, where can the folks find you?
You guys can find me at Andrew Ghai on just Twitter.
Just Twitter.
Yeah.
And of course, the podcast itself is also on Twitter. We have a Twitter. It's at AMA Podcast. And you guys have been interacting with us quite a bit. We've done like a live poll thing every week where we've introduced something at the top of the show that we want people to throw at us for the end of the show. And I think we've been getting your guys' pitches for movies. We have 2 that have already been thrown at us the last couple of weeks that we're going to pitch at the end of the episode.
Yep.
So stick around for that because if you go follow us on Twitter, you'll be able to vote on which of those 2 movies you'd like to see and have some say in what's going on. I think what I'd like to have people pitch, you guys will notice sometimes we'll introduce new segments to the show.
Aha! I like this. I like where you're going already.
We don't do it often, but sometimes we'll come up with something new and maybe change out something old. We like to keep it fresh and interesting. So what I'd like to do is at the end of the episode, we're going to take submissions for new segments. And that can be, we'll kind of explain it again at the end of the episode, but we'll call to it. And you guys can either tweet them at AMA Podcast or you can leave them in the comments on YouTube. Whatever it is, you can even name the segment. And honestly,
and we'll keep it.
Probably keep the name if we think it's really awesome.
And if you guys do post it in the live chat, just know that we may not see it in the live chat. Hopefully I'll see it, but if not, make sure to get it on the comments on YouTube or on the Twitter because we don't want to miss a good idea.
Yeah, absolutely. So without further ado, let's get into the trailer for Fast 5.
Yeah, because we've been doing this show for a while, and some of the segments are getting a little stale.
Sometimes they're just some segments fit some movies better than others. You know.
Exactly. Wait, what is this?
Doesn't look like Fast 5. Oh yeah, that's
Sullivan. Are you crazy? Do you know whose money are you stealing?
We ain't stealing.
What movie is this?
All right, listen up. The men we're after are professional runners. We find them, we take them as a team, and we bring them back.
Never, ever.
Yeah, that might be my favorite line.
Yeah.
Above all else, we don't ever let them get in the cars.
Yeah, it's a sweet line.
Yeah, it's excellent.
Home sweet home.
This just went from Mission Impossible to Mission of freaking Sanity.
He's the worst.
Yeah, he's real bad.
Survive. Stop thinking like a cop.
Most of the other characters who are secondary are just like, whatever, like
Sweet.
comic relief.
Yeah.
But he's like, just has the worst lines.
Well, it's great because it's like, he's like the poor man's Ludacris in this movie.
Yeah, but
like
Ludacris
gets to shit on him the whole time.
Yeah, and Ludacris gets to be like, yeah, I was also like a rapper turned actor, but like, I'm like the nerdy character.
Yeah.
I'm smart.
And you're like just kind of dumb and loud.
Yeah, dumb and loud, and you buy expensive cars, and I want to start a chop shop.
Yeah.
You know?
This was sweet. I remember seeing this in theaters, and I thought this was like such a cool idea.
Yeah.
Like the 2 cars with the safe.
Just barreling stuff over.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a good trailer.
It is a good trailer, and I think what's cool about it is that like they start in the trailer. They let you know that this is not a movie just about racing cars
Yeah.
and like stealing shit. Even though it's like it's more advanced, more evolved than the other ones had been.
Well, yeah, and this is marked as they made a concerted effort here. When developing Fast 5, Universal Studios deliberately departed from the street racing theme prevalent in the previous films in the series. They wanted to make it feel more like a heist movie so that it was more relatable. So sort of more like an Ocean's 11 type of movie.
Which is funny that you say that because right when you're typing that, someone says, "Can you consider Fast 5 a heist movie?" And I think so.
Totally is. Yeah.
I think so because there's that moment in heist movies that you get. One of my favorites is like in the score when Edward Norton's getting away and he opens up the bag and he realizes it's just like a wrench. And then Thomas Crown Affair at the very end of it with Pierce Brosnan with all the paintings and all the guys like walking around. It's just like one of those most like, holy shit, this is cool.
Yeah.
And I had that moment watching when they do the switch out with the safe under the bridge.
Yeah.
Because it was just real quick and subtle and it wasn't over dramatized. It was just like, you got 10 seconds, boys, make it count. Yeah. And then this whole thing changes and happens. And then, of course, the beautiful Gal Gadot driving away.
You know what I've heard is actually that it's pronounced Gal Gadot.
Fuck.
No, I know, but like I've known that. I still say Gal Gadot.
It's just so much hotter.
It's so and Gal Gadot is like it's like you're a Gadot.
You're a Gadot. No one wants to be a Gadot.
Yeah, I don't know. So I love Gal Gadot.
I do. She's a beautiful woman.
She's gorgeous. She's Wonder Woman.
She has superpowers.
The next thing we're going to do on the show, guys, is something that we like to call action movie tagline. So this is the thing where we come up with a tagline, something you would see on a box at a movie store, or sometimes like a little blurb. Maybe if you were like looking stuff up on Rotten Tomatoes and it gives you like the 1 or 2 sentence little like blurb of what it is.
Right.
That's like kind of what we do here, because we used to call this tagline as if this was actually a quote you get on a box, which was like a slam bang action thriller.
Yes.
But usually they're longer and sillier than that. So this would be like if we wrote a review and the log line is what this is. I think that's kind of more what these feel like. Right.
Is that what we're doing? You want to do it? You don't want to do a sequel this week?
Oh, do we do both?
Oh, we're gonna do both.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
Oh, I'm getting that you don't have a tagline.
Oh, I've got a tagline, man. I've definitely got one coming.
I'll do my tagline.
Yeah, I'm gonna write mine.
Yeah. We're also gonna be doing the spinoff this week, which is another segment that we've started doing. My spinoff is so sweet.
Is it?
It is so sweet.
I'm fucked.
Yeah. All right. Action movie tagline. 5 times the action. 5 times the body butter. Dwayne Johnson rocks the house and gives birth to Luke Hobbs. Didn't know you could be the mother and the father.
That was really good.
It's pretty good, right?
Yeah, I don't. This is tough. I can't. I'm gonna resign this week.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm gonna do it.
You're not gonna improv it?
I'm not gonna improv it because
Yeah.
that was so good. Mine's just gonna be more embarrassing than not even having it.
Well, so let's continue down
It
the road.
starts with buckle up.
Yeah.
That's all I have.
You got that. I wrote it and then crossed it out because I've used it before. If it has to do with a car, we say buckle
You
up.
say buckle up. Get ready for the ride of your life.
Get ready for the ride of your life. Yeah, exactly. All right, so that's action movie tagline. We're going to continue down the road with the games we like to play here, guys. We'll be getting to thesis statement in just a second. But first, what we're going to do... you know what? We'll save it. Spinoff comes a little later. So we will get into thesis statement right now.
All right.
So thesis statement, guys, this is something we've been doing since the very beginning of the show. And if you're watching or listening for the first time, this is kind of the moment where... you think about this movie on the grand scheme of this movie and what it really means, and also your biggest thought about it. So, is this the greatest of something? Is it the first of something? Is it the only something? The way that you would describe this movie, it's your thesis statement. How would you sell this movie to someone and why this movie matters?
Hey.
And what's up?
Fernie.
What's
He's
up?
in chat right now.
He's in chat.
Fernie, you're in chat. You're supposed to be sitting here in the studio with us, buddy. It was because this guy, he's like, he goes, she is so hot. When we're talking about Gal Gadot. And he goes, more so in real life. And I was like, wait, who the fuck is seeing Gal Gadot in real life? And I looked closely. Hey, bro, sorry I messed up. Thought it was tomorrow. No problem, buddy. We're glad that you're here in the chat watching with us.
We love you to death, Fern.
Yeah, we wish you could be here, but we totally understand.
But we're glad. If you want to call in, I think we can have you call in. If you're listening live right now, I think we can have you call in if you want to. How would we do that?
I don't know.
Donica?
Just got to dial in 424. Actually, wait, hold on. I'll get you the number on screen.
Oh, he's watching on set. He's watching on set. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
Fine.
Guys, Fernie Chen is in this movie. He's a good buddy of ours. He was in Warrior as well, and he's friends with Anthony and Gavin. He is in Fast 5.
Yeah, he's like the right-hand man to Hobbs.
Yeah, and Ben and I were both sitting there watching the movie. We saw the top of his head, and we were like, Is that Fernie?
I know that Mohawk.
I know the top of that head.
I know that Mohawk.
He turns around and starts talking. We're like, holy shit, that's our boy.
Yeah.
Guys, Fernie Chen is he's on The Last Ship, and you can find him on Twitter at Fernie Chen.
Yeah, Fernie Chen. He's the coolest. He's like legitimately just like the coolest. Anthony, when he was like, you got to be my buddy Fernie. Everybody in the world likes Fernie. There's no one that doesn't like him.
He's one of those guys.
And he's totally legit. And he plays the villain on The Last Ship.
Yeah.
Very villainous.
He's evil.
Yeah. So Fernie, we love you. Thanks for watching.
Yeah, buddy, we appreciate it.
So let's get into thesis statement. This is sort of almost like hyperbole. It's your biggest thought about the movie. So what's yours?
I'm going to jump in since I had nothing to contribute earlier.
Yep.
Mine is that this is the most important installment of the franchise.
Oh, I thought you were about to steal mine. Yes, that is 100% true. I agree with you all the way.
Because it's like, again, even the viewers asking, can we call this a heist movie? Yes, you can call this a heist movie. And then you're rebooting the series, a dying franchise, a movie that no one, or a franchise that no one wanted to watch anymore.
Yeah.
Especially with after 2, like 3 and 4 were just garbage. You're going to reboot it with The Rock, who is on top of the world at the time. And you're also rebooting it in 2011 when all of the people like us, we've been out of high school and out of college now for a while, and we're just like, this is the type of movie that reminds us of being a kid.
Yeah.
So when this movie came out with the people that were in it, the way it was done, and then to switch the formula, it is by far the most important of the franchise.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, and everything you said. The weird thing about 4, so this is why I think that this movie's so interesting, and why I think your point makes the most sense, is that. So 1 came out as a direct ripoff of Point Break. It's the same movie. It's literally the exact same movie. It's just with cars instead of surfers.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole premise, the whole plot, all of it.
Even the sandwich.
Yeah.
Even down to the sandwich that they get in the beginning.
It's just the same movie.
Yeah.
But that's fine because it was 2001, like it was, or 2000 or something like that. It was like about 10 years later, and like it was with like hot actors at the time. It wasn't even supposed to be like it wasn't like an epic movie. It was just like an action movie.
Yeah.
Paul Walker was like young and like up and coming, and so was Vin Diesel. Like, so that movie came out and it was okay, and it played really well to teenagers, and everybody liked it, and it was cars and stuff. And the second one, then you cast Tyrese, and you cast Ludacris, you get rappers. It's
right.
Vin leaves. It's not as good of a movie. It's kind of a travesty.
And then 3, everyone leaves.
Well, that's the weird thing is, so like one of the stars leaves for the second one, both the stars leave for the third one. So when they made the 4th movie, which I think must have been like 2008, something like that.
I believe so.
They got the whole cast back together, and they paid them all this money, and the idea was we'll get the whole cast back together, and it made a good amount of money. Fast and Furious did well at the box office.
Yeah,
but it wasn't interesting, and it wasn't even bad. I actually paid money to see Fast and Furious in theaters. I saw the 4th one. I skipped 2 and 3, but I saw 4.
Yeah.
And I was just sort of like, this movie's sweet, I guess.
It's fine.
I never wanted to see it again. I didn't remember it fondly. But the weird thing about 5 is that like I guess they looked at that and they were like, this may have made a lot of money, but we can't just do this again. We have to change the formula. But people were willing to go pay money to see that 4th movie because they still loved the memory of the first one.
Absolutely.
Made enough money, they were like, all right, it's worth investing a ton of money and getting this, getting The Rock and changing it up, and it totally paid off.
Yeah, absolutely.
I
couldn't agree more.
I think that's really interesting. Like, that's one of those swing for the fences moments. And
look at where the franchise has gone now. Like the money that 7 made last year was
crazy.
I mean, just the money that was made in Hollywood last year was incredible.
Yeah.
But so what's yours?
So my thesis statement is, this is the most important movie of The Rock's career.
Oh, okay.
So I know it's pretty bold, but
what about Be Cool?
So here's my defense, right? And I read an article from like 3 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, and it was about The Rock's career and where he was at the time of the article. And they basically were sort of like, The Rock was this incredibly charismatic wrestler. He had played football. He was always that guy that was like the most charismatic or engaging part of a movie in the mid-2000s. He was in movie after movie after movie. But like the kind of roles he was getting and the kind of things he was in, it was never quite like The Rock had his own movie and that movie was really good and it made a ton of money, and he was like, it was like he was perceived as an A-list movie star, but he wasn't actually a movie star. Like Walking Tall, for instance, movies like that are the things he was making.
Right. They were all like kind of B movies.
So prior to this movie, it was like, okay, so they cast him in this movie, and I think everybody can pretty much agree that The Rock is the best part of this movie. Like, pretty like,
yeah. It's
like pretty indefensible that like to have any other opinion. Like, he's
sweet.
He's just the best.
He's engaging. He's charismatic. Yeah, exactly. He is exactly what you expect when you say The Rock.
Yeah, you walked out of this. I walked out of this movie. I remember seeing it in theaters, just being like, "Fuck yeah!" Yeah, The Rock stole the show. Like he was that guy just made that movie. It was like his whole wrestling personality, but in a fucking
A sweet cop. Yeah, that was believable somehow.
So I remember reading this article in like 2012 or 2013. They were sort of like, his most memorable character up till 2012 or 2013 was Luke Hobbs, a supporting cop in the 5th installment of the Fast and the Furious franchise. For somebody as famous as him, that makes no sense. So he fired his whole team, started his own production company, $7 Productions, relaunched his whole career, designed this whole platform for the next few years for him to have this like upward movement in his career, which is when he signed all these deals. He had Ballers coming out, he made San Andreas, he made Hercules, Central Intelligence. Like he really started to think about, okay, I'm gonna be the biggest thing, right? I'm only gonna be the star in giant movies. I'm not gonna be in these B-list things. I'm not gonna be supporting characters and things. And he did, and he changed it. And now The Rock is a brand. He's about as famous as an action star, movie star, as anyone in the world. Like,
absolutely. And isn't it crazy that you can be as big as The Rock was in 2011 and still have to try that hard to rebrand yourself as a real, like, credible talent in this business?
Yeah, like The Rock is to action movies now what like Leo is to drama.
Yeah.
Like there's I don't think there's anybody who is on his level right now, because they would be the guys that like had that moment have been added to this franchise now. Like Statham was like on that path, and he just got added to the franchise. Like The Rock is the guy. He's totally the guy.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I think that's a very good thesis statement. I know that the audience agrees as well, because they said it in here, and it's true. Because if this movie wouldn't have happened for The Rock, his career it could have gone up or down in 2011.
Yeah,
and it skyrocketed instead of going through the ground.
Yeah, it's crazy. We'll show the box office clip later. You can sort of look at all of his highest grossing movies and see. There's like 85% of them happened in the last 4 years.
Yeah.
There's a few of them like movies he was in, because you mentioned Be Cool, which is that's a movie that I'll be honest, I've never seen it.
Have you seen his scene in it?
No.
Oh my god.
I know everybody always references it. It's supposed to be hilarious.
Yeah.
People always talk about it like it's one of the funniest things he ever did.
It was because it was the first time that he made fun of himself in a way that was not only just like completely vulnerable, but it was fucking hilarious.
He played like he was like a monologue.
He did the Bring It On
the duet,
scene.
right?
Yeah, but he's like, I'm gonna rate it as a monologue. He does both voices, and it's just amazing. The commitment is amazing.
Yeah, The Rock.
Fernie, I see that you're still in chat here, and I did want to ask you a question, and you can answer it whenever you like. I know you're on set, and if you're too busy, don't worry about it, because we're gonna move on here anyway. I just want to ask, with 6 and 7 coming out and the death of Paul Walker, and you got to really look into the lives of the people on set and how they felt about each other, what was it like working on a movie with a cast that was that close? Was it one of the most like intimate casts you'd ever worked on, or is that something that was it just like the small group of people that had been in all the movies together? Like, what was it like being on set with these guys? Because it seems like when you watch these movies, that everyone's just having the best time.
Yeah.
And everyone's just chilling on set, and it just seems like a great place to be.
Totally.
So, yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there. It was just a question that I had.
Yeah, if you hear it, Fern, just throw it in chat, or you can also just you can tweet it at one of us if it's easier.
Yeah, take your time, man.
Yeah, whatever you gotta do. But in any case, that's thesis statement. So let's continue down the path of where we go with this show, which is Fistbump moment. And this is we're playing a lot of games today.
We are. It's good.
Playing a lot of games. Fistbump moment is that moment when you are watching the movie and something happens that really just makes you just like look around and be like, is anybody else watching this? This is so fucking sweet.
Yeah.
Like God, you want to call your buddy and be like, dude, go turn the movie on. You got to see this part. Or like, you see him next year, you're like, did you see that movie? It's that part where he's like, he does this thing.
Yeah, this thing.
Like,
Oh
yes!
yeah! Oh my god, what he did?
Yes.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's Fistbump moment. So I got a bunch. It's funny. Okay, when I saw this in theaters, my fist pump moment was 100%. I'll ride with you, Toretto. When The Rock says it,
Yeah.
so excited.
Yeah, it's a very good one.
So excited. But watching it again last night, it's even before that. It's the scene where The Rock's whole team, Fernie included, gets gunned down, and they save The Rock, and he's like looks up at Vin Diesel. And they do the arm thing, but they do like the arm lock.
It's the arm shake,
It's the arm shake. And I was like, yes! I totally had an actual fist pump at that moment. That was even more for me than I'll ride with you, Toretto. But those are the two.
That's a good one. You know our buddy Chad over at the West Side?
Yeah.
That's the only way he shakes hands.
He does
the full arm shake.
The arm shake.
Yeah, he's the only one that I know that does that. Here we go. Fernie says that Paul was the best and very inclusive. Yeah, all the cast hung out and was was mainly led by people like Ludacris, Tyrese, and Paul. Vin does his own thing off set, but on set, he's there. The Rock is probably the coolest, but he was also very new.
Yeah.
Which is kind of funny to think about The Rock being super cool, but kind of like tentative around people. Fernie, you're the best, man. I appreciate that. So I have a couple.
Okay.
Two of them are just because of what they mean for me in my life, and that was the first one was when Joaquim de Almeida came up.
Yeah, right.
Because Ben and I, we've worked in Santa Monica for a long time, and he's a regular on the street, and he loves to go and talk to younger girls. And he goes, "You may recognize me as the villain in a number of American action movies." So when I saw him pop up, and I was just like, "Oh fuck yes, this is
The best.
This is the best."
I don't think I had met him yet when I saw this movie. I think I must have met him a year or two later when he used that line. And that was like my favorite. That was my favorite line. I think he's used the line on me twice.
It's a good line.
I don't think he remembered that he met me the first time because he was wasted both times.
Right.
But that's clearly his go-to.
It is. I mean, Desperado. That's what I remembered
Clear
him from
Present
first.
Danger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other one was when I saw Fernie, because that just cracked me up.
Yeah.
My third one was when is Gal Gadot driving the truck away?
Yeah.
Looking super hot
Yeah.
because not only is she gorgeous and she looks completely out of place driving that dump truck.
Yeah.
But
It's like Schwarzenegger as Mr. Freeze in the scientist jacket.
yeah, exactly. But I'm a sucker for that moment when you realize the heist, what has changed, what has happened, because The Rock's opening the safe at the same time, and so that's my fist pump, my real one.
That's awesome. Yeah, this movie was definitely full of them. So moving on, we will get into breakdowns, star profiles, a little bit of the what's going on with how this movie was made and the guys involved. We're gonna breeze through it a little bit because we're a little limited on time today, but. We will touch on this stuff quickly. So, looking at their two careers, Vin Diesel this was a funny moment in Vin Diesel's career, right? Because one of the major reasons that Fast and Furious in 2009 was such a big deal was that he had taken a pretty serious break from acting. He sometime in that
Talking about Walker?
No, about Vin Diesel.
Oh, Vin Diesel. Yeah.
Because he's in that movie Find Me Guilty in 2006, which I want to say is a Sidney Lumet movie. It's like a weird satirical, like kind of comedy, but like it's not really a comedy. It's just an odd movie.
Right, because he did try to be a real actor for a while there.
Yeah, and there's movies in the years before Find Me Guilty, like 03 and 04, when he decided not to come back for the second Fast movie. But then you'll notice there's this break. There's Babylon AD in 08, which I don't know if you ever saw.
Yeah.
It's appalling.
It's atrociously bad.
One of the worst movies.
When I was younger, I kept getting confused with Battlefield Earth because they were both so bad.
Yeah.
And the names are kind of similar, but that movie's really bad.
There's a period
Jupiter Ascending.
Yeah, there's a period in time when my buddy Teddy and I used to go. I've said this on the show. We would go on Saturday nights to go see the worst movie of the week with the highest expectations. We did this for a solid year and a half, so there's like a lot of bad movies in there, and Babylon AD was definitely in that mix.
Yeah.
We saw it one Saturday, and I remember just like walking out and like it was like hilariously bad. Like I wanted to talk to everyone I knew about how hilariously bad it was, but no one else would see it or had seen it, so no one knew what I was talking about.
Was there a point when you guys were doing this and you hit a wall and you were walking out of a movie and you're like, we can't do this anymore?
No. I think I just left. I moved away from Seattle.
That's great.
It was too fun. Because we would also go to Cheesecake Factory and house like 3 beers and like a giant piece of cheesecake each before the movie.
Sounds great.
It was being 20 was a lot of fun.
It's much nicer than being 28.
What I mean is being 21 because I was ordering the beers legally. 100%.
Of course.
It was a slip of the tongue. So
Cheesecake Factory is an upstanding establishment.
yeah, they would never serve me beer. I was just misremembering. So then you look at Paul Walker, and like he was in a very different phase of his career. Paul Walker had been gunning for it for like the entire 2000s.
Yeah, he was the it guy.
Yeah,
Or one of them.
Yeah, right. But the weird thing was that despite the fact that they both had blown up around the same time with like Into the Blue and Triple X, Fast and the Furious, like both of those guys had a great run from like 2000, 2003. They both were kind of falling off.
It's because they're just not that great at acting.
Walker had a few movies that he turned in some strong performances.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, I love Paul Walker and I love Vin Diesel.
Yeah.
But it's just tough because you got to remember everyone else that was gunning for it at that time too.
Yeah, like Walker, he's in a movie called Running Scared that I remember I liked a lot. That's pretty good. And he has some good moments, dramatically anyway. But I think it's cool that obviously they all took the payday because they got paid a huge amount of money to come back and do in 2009. The Lazarus Project, that's a theater piece. That's a play. It's a very famous play that he made the movie adaptation of. Takers, I like vaguely remember.
It was the gang movie, right?
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, with a bunch. Yeah, I think Takers, like, it was just one of those things. I don't know. You see this happen to young actors sometimes where they really have like that. They're a rising star, and then you start seeing them pop up in these movies that don't really look like premiere releases.
Yeah, it's interesting because all three of them were actually kind of at the same place in their career, except for The Rock was on his way up, and the other two were kind of on their way down.
Yeah, The Rock was still like sort of like had that like shiny like.
Yeah.
Anything can happen with this guy because he's so charismatic feel. Whereas like I think in a lot of ways people at that point felt like they had seen the best of Vin and Paul already.
Right.
Which obviously the next 3 movies in this franchise completely changed everybody's mind. So
The Rock's career, what he was up to was he was in an episode of Transformers Prime in 2010. He was in Faster. He was the driver in Faster.
I remember that.
He was in You Again as an air marshal, uncredited. He was in The Other Guys.
Which is one of my favorites.
One of your favorites.
But comic relief, yeah.
Yep. Why Did I Get Married To? Uncredited.
Yeah.
And then Tooth Fairy.
Yeah.
Like, that was his career at the time. That was his career. That was all happening in 2010.
Yeah.
So, like...
He was just making the wrong decisions.
He was just making the wrong decisions, but he was just trying to break through.
Yeah.
And he just wasn't doing it right.
Yep.
And it's crazy that this movie, as you said in your thesis, was just, this is it. Because as soon as Fast Five's over, the next thing he does is he's like in the video, he's in the WWE video game. The next movie he does is Snitch, where I think he's one of the leads in it, and then G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
Retaliation, where he is kind of like Hobbs of G.I. Joe. Yeah.
And then just big movie after big movie.
Yeah.
What year was that absolutely appalling movie he was in, the follow-up to Donnie Darko? Southland Tales. What year was that? 2006 maybe?
Yeah, I think so. I haven't thought about that movie in so long. 2006, yep.
That's one of the worst movies ever made.
Which was this is the year after he did Doom. He was in Reno 911, Miami the movie.
Yeah.
He's a quick cameo in the beginning.
He's good though?
Amazing.
You've seen Southland Tales?
No.
He keeps saying he keeps saying one line over and over and it's like, because pimps don't cry or something like that. or like there's like some line like that. I don't remember what it is, but
right.
If anybody in the chat has seen that movie and remembers the line, please let me know. Or
please.
If you want to just laugh about how bad that movie is, that's great too. Okay, guys, so let's get into because we did a career retrospective at that moment on Vin Diesel and Paul Walker, we're now talking about The Rock and how important he is to this movie. So we aren't going to be doing recast later in the episode. Just a quick heads up. Recast we're finding is something we want to do more sparingly. We want to save it for certain movies.
Yeah.
And this one, we've recast this cast before, I think, because we did Furious 7.
Yeah. Fernie, take care.
Yeah. Take care, Fernie.
He's going back to filming anyway. Yeah.
And on top of that, like, it's just, I don't know, it didn't sound that interesting to try to have to recast a big cast, like an ensemble cast of supporting characters.
It's tough to recast a cast that started and finished is still the same, over the course of almost 2 decades.
So we split up recast into a couple different games. The first of which is the spin-off.
The spin-off.
So this is a new game. We introduced this for the Rock episode, I think. No pun intended. And this is where basically you have 1 minute to pitch your spin-off movie of, and in this case, it's the Luke Hobbs spin-off movie. This can be anything. This can be an origin story. This can be a direct sequel. This can be him showing up in another universe. Anything you want. This is if you get to make the Luke Hobbs movie.
Right.
You need a title. You need the characters. A couple actors. That's what you got. Donka, you gonna time us?
This is Marissa.
Marissa, are you gonna time us?
Hi, Marissa.
Hi, Marissa. Okay, sweet. Do you want to go first, or should I?
Sure.
All right.
This is called Hobbs, the Untold Story.
Okay, counting down. Marissa, ready?
Okay. And go.
Thank you.
So this is the story following Hobbs as soon as this movie ends, because this movie technically falls in line right before Tokyo Drift,
Sure.
but before 7.
Yeah.
So I want to see him, kind of like what they did with the new Batman vs. Superman movie.
Yeah.
I want to see him chasing Dominic Toretto and Paul Walker down, but he's always like a step or a day behind them.
Okay.
So it's like you can see all the shit that they did, and
Yeah.
he's just a day late. Because I love at the end when he's like, "I'll see you soon." He's like, "No, you won't."
Yeah.
So I want to see the story of of Hobbs chasing down Toretto all the way up to the to 6.
To 6.
I believe is when you see him again.
Yeah.
So I want to see all the shit that he goes through. I want to see him learning how to drive. I want to see him encountering other bad guys along the way that are trying to keep Toretto and Walker safe because they're in the family. I want to see him hunting Vin Diesel for 2 hours.
So you're talking.
That is what I want.
You're talking Fast and the Furious 5.5.
Yeah, 5.5, right in the middle.
Okay.
The Luke Hobbs, the Untold Story.
All right, very good. All right, here's what I got. Ready for this?
I'm ready.
3, 2, 1. Pineapple Express 2, The Hunted. Here's the premise. Once again, Seth Rogen apparently like happens upon some government secret about like some crazy thing to do with the government growing weed. Okay? Now, the government knows about this, and there's a splinter cell led by none other than Danny McBride, who's been hired out as a mercenary to find and kill Seth Rogen.
Oh.
But the other faction of the government, who's good, hires Luke Hobbs to hunt down Seth Rogen, who has gone missing. And when he goes to find him at James Franco's house, Franco's like, no, you have to let me come with him. I know him better than anyone. I'll help you find him. So it turns into like a buddy movie with James Franco and Luke Hobbs going across the country being chased by Danny McBride to hunt down Seth Rogen.
How badly do you want Danny McBride to just be a bad guy in a movie?
So badly.
That's all you want.
That's my pitch. Pineapple Express 2. I hope you guys heard that. I hope you heard how fucking sweet that would be.
I would watch it.
Because look, the Men in Black 3 slash 23 Jump Street crossover is coming out. Why couldn't you just put Luke Hobbs into a Pineapple Express movie?
You could literally put him in any movie with a
he's-
cop in it.
Don't you think that would be an amazing movie?
I would watch the shit out of that.
In a
It
second.
would be hilarious.
incredible. Because The Rock's so funny. He and
Yeah.
Franco together would be just brilliant. So
Do you think The Rock can lead? So let's say my movie was real,
yeah.
but let's say it wasn't in the Fast and the Furious world. Can The Rock be a leading man in an action drama? Can he do it?
It's hard to say, right?
Because we keep seeing him try and he falls flat.
It's like San Andreas, right? Like San Andreas is like made a lot of money. It wasn't particularly well reviewed. People liked it, but it wasn't a hit in the sense that it gets remembered as a hit. Yet they're making a sequel because it made a lot of money.
And then in like Walking Tall and The Rundown, it's just hard to take him seriously as that guy.
Yeah, we have to discredit.
those are bad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, not only that, but we have to also like give him credit where credit's due. That he's grown a tremendous amount
Yes.
as a leading man now. So I think so. Like, it's weird. It's just weird that there is that thing like Hercules where he
I
does movies that just don't. That's the one part of his career that still feels like it's missing. But you know, whatever. He's still killing it. Like, I don't know. Interesting. But let's talk a little about production development. So we've gone over a lot of these guys before, and it's a pretty consistent team. The big difference is that 3 and 4 on is where you get a lot of the same people, like 4 especially, but some of the people from 3 came back to work on 4 or 5. The guys from those first couple movies, in a lot of cases, aren't still working on them anymore.
Yeah, everyone other than
Neil Moritz,
who's produced all 7 of them.
Yeah, and
I'm sure he is very wealthy.
Moritz is a huge producer.
Yes.
Enormous. I was talking to Evan Goldberg about he and Seth Rogen optioning Preacher at the Preacher premiere recently, and Evan was telling me a story of just being on set and just like hanging out with Neil, and like I think it was in Green Hornet because he produced Green Hornet, and apparently just Neil was like, "Oh, Preacher, huh? Like, if I got the rights to that, would you guys make it?" You know, and this is the rights that have been kicking around for years.
Right.
Huge, tons of money to own it. And they were like, yeah, in a second. And he's like, all right,
buy
let's
it.
talk about it. Exactly. And that's what happened. He made Preacher. Like, that's who that guy is. So Neil Moritz is a total badass. So he has a production company called One Race Films. And Vin has one called Original Film. So those two production companies partnered together as the major producers on this film. There's about 10 or so producers listed. Some of them are regional line producers, like some stuff in Russia that was shot. You have the line producers shooting stuff in Brazil because a lot of this is shot on site.
Right.
You have executive producers. There's very big names. It's not like some of these cases where you have 3 or 4.
Like 9 people that you don't recognize any of them.
Yeah, like a lot of these people have major track records. So to go into all of that is not going to happen. But
yeah, I mean he's the biggest one. He's the biggest part. He's been there since the beginning.
Yeah,
you know?
Moritz and Vin are the two because Moritz other stuff is like he worked on the 21 Jump Street reboot, the entire Triple X franchise. Yep. He just works on a lot of stuff.
It's interesting with these guys that direct these movies.
Yeah,
because it does give you a different feel, and so because they've gone through was it Wan that did the 7th one? James Wan. Or am I thinking of someone else?
Maybe. That sounds right.
I believe that's right. And then Justin Lin did this one, and it's like they get these very particular stylized directors.
I thought that Lin maybe directed 5, 6, and 7. Or maybe he just directed 4, 5, and 6.
I'm going to look it up while you talk about him.
Yeah, Lin is funny. You remember that movie, Better Luck Tomorrow? Did you ever see it?
I didn't see it. I remember it coming out.
Yeah, because the same as me. I remember the box.
Yeah.
I just remember seeing it in the video store. And I remember hearing about it, and it had all these awards on it. And it was one of those times where, Blockbuster, for instance, where you spent a lot of time in Blockbuster. I spent a lot of time in a local video store.
You didn't work there.
Yeah. It's not like it is now where the online version of a video store, a Netflix streaming, platform, or Amazon, where just everything's there, and the stuff that's featured at the front is the biggest, but the obscure stuff is like less big. It used to really be like Blockbuster had a limited number of slots. So if a movie like Better Luck Tomorrow it was a Taiwanese American film that had a ton of actors who most people didn't recognize in America, and it was sitting on the shelf next to your major releases, it had broken through. It had won a bunch of awards. It was discussed as great action. Lin did Fast 3 through 6.
Yeah, he did 3 through 6. Then Wan did 7. James Wan.
And he's directed other stuff that we know.
Yeah, he did something. He's doing real big stuff right now.
So this franchise is so big now that only like the biggest names get to work on it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's what it was. James Wan was real big for doing horror movies. He'd done The Conjuring, Insidious 2, Conjuring 2. Dead Silence, but he's the guy that's doing Aquaman. That's why we've been talking
James
about
Wan.
him a lot.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense.
So I mean, again, like you get a guy that he was just doing horror movies, and then he gets put on Furious 7, and now he gets to direct Aquaman.
This is a great example, if you look at the guys involved with this movie, of how much the success of a franchise, and if you get put on a successful franchise, how much your brand gets to grow. Because you jump over from Justin Lin, who, great example, Fast 3 through 6, he directed 2 of the 8 episodes of True Detective Season 2. Now, obviously, True Detective Season 2 wasn't very good. Didn't matter. That was one of the most high-profile shows in the world at the time.
Everyone in the world was watching what you were doing.
Here's the things he's attached to. Space Jam 2. He's going to be directing Space Jam 2.
Yep.
He's going to be doing the Bourne sequel with Jeremy Renner, the next Bourne movie with him. And he just directed Star Trek Beyond, coming out later this summer. So, yeah, Justin Lin, I'd say he's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, I mean, this is the type of movie... It's not a gimme by any means. Just because you know the formula and the plot doesn't mean that you can make it interesting and fun to watch. So like for these guys to take over this franchise, a franchise with this much money behind it and that much star power, and deliver something that audiences love, that means that they can basically do anything that has a formula and a plot line behind it already, like a Star Trek movie,
Completely. And it also is really interesting when you're like, oh, he did a Fast and the Furious movie, you're going to let him do Space Jam? But it's like, when guys are able to make movies of this level feel this like palatable for everybody, you just know they've got it. They have an understanding of story that translates to every genre. So looking over, though, that like sort of the residual success, look at Chris Morgan. So he and Gary Scott Thompson are like the 2 major credited writers. Gary Scott Thompson is credited as characters from the first movie, so he gets a credit on every movie. Morgan is the main writer on this one. He has been a big budget action movie writer just in general. Wanted, 47 Ronin, Fast 3 through 7, and writing 8. But also he's working on a new Conan the Barbarian film. In 2011, though, he launched his own production company, and now he's a producer on the Mummy reboot coming out in 2017.
Starring
Tom Cruise.
This mummy needs to go.
If this mummy doesn't get out of the water, it's gonna die.
We are gonna be wrapped up. Which is awesome because the Mummy movies were fun and stupid. The first one's pretty good. The original of The Mummy is actually a pretty sweet movie, but if they can make it, like, I'm hoping with Mena and stuff that Tom Cruise is going to start taking like a more dark, serious approach to movies.
Is there any reboot that seems more preposterous to you for Tom Cruise to be involved with than The Mummy?
It's pretty weird. Like when I first saw that, I couldn't even believe it.
That's like baffling. That's like, I think one of the reasons it's so weird is that by the time the first Mummy movie came out, Tom Cruise had already been famous and in giant franchises of his own for like 15 years.
Yeah, it'd be like putting Denzel in a Bad Boys reboot.
Yeah, totally. That's exactly what it'd be like. It's so weird. It's like, I guess I could see it happening.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's not like Denzel in the Magnificent Seven remake, because that came out before Denzel was a thing.
You're right.
It's like Cruise headlining The Mummy.
A movie that came out in the middle of his career when he was still very successful, because the first Mummy came out in like 2002 or something, right?
Like the most successful part of his entire career.
Yeah.
Like, also like, not regarded by most as like a seminal movie, just like a movie that people liked.
Like the first one's sweet, but the rest of the series goes so downhill and then gets taken over with the Scorpion King and The Rock and all that it's a laughable franchise.
Like The Mummy doesn't get talked about as like one of the 10 best movies of our time.
No, I would be just as offended if it was Tom Cruise starring the National Treasure reboot.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Because though I never saw National Treasure, but it's like people talk about it like it's maybe 10% worse than The Mummy. Like,
Yeah.
it's pretty entertaining. It's about it. Anyway, that's very strange, but hats off to you, Chris Morgan. You get to work with Tom Cruise. That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's got to be a good time.
It'd be great for your career. So we're gonna get into box office and critical here, and this is fun when it gets to these movies because they cost a lot and they make a lot. So this movie was produced by Universal and had a budget of $125 million. It opened April 29th in 2011. Domestically, it grossed $209 million, which was pretty great, but internationally, it grossed $416 million.
Yeah.
For a grand total of $626 million.
You wonder if there's some part of them that hired Justin Lin because of his success on Better Luck Tomorrow, and that because he's Taiwanese,
Mate, I mean, it could
you
be.
could market the director of Better Luck Tomorrow. It's kind of the same. It's like sort of like the John Woo effect in some ways.
Yeah, for
Right.
sure. And this movie has mass appeal because it's always these franchises, or in this franchise, they shoot all over the world.
Yeah.
So people in Brazil, people in Tokyo, people where, etc.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, well, I remember seeing that in our town. Let's go see it. Let's go watch
Exactly.
it,
$626 million, and that's the crazy thing is that just keeps growing.
Yeah.
6 made a ton, 7 made like a record-breaking amount of money.
Yeah, I mean, this movie opened at $86 million domestically.
Yeah.
That's huge.
You just wonder what 8's gonna make.
Yeah, 7.3 on IMDb, which is great. It's got a 78% by all critics, 79 by top, and an 83 by audience.
Yeah.
It follows our algorithm that
Those
we
are
have.
high numbers. Those
They're
are
very
really
high, and I think 6 and 7 are even higher.
Yeah, it's crazy. People, it's funny. This is the only franchise. This is the only franchise with numbers this high that makes money like this. It's the only
Right.
one in history ever. I don't think there's even.
I mean, that's another good thesis. This is one of the only franchises where it only keeps getting better with each installment.
I guess. I mean, I just made that up just right now off the top of my head. So if I'm forgetting something obvious, then I am. But like, I think like if you're talking about Marvel as a franchise, or you're talking about the James Bond property as a franchise, or Mission Impossible as a franchise,
I guess Mission Impossible gets better as they keep going on as well.
4 and 5 made a lot of money, but
Yeah.
not this kind of money.
No.
7 is like the third or fourth. What? No. 7's like in the top 5 highest grossing movies ever made. Isn't
Yeah.
it?
I mean, 3 of the top 5 happened last year. That was World, 7, and Avengers.
No, Star Wars.
I mean, Star Wars. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was just huge.
Yeah. I'm so excited for Rogue One.
I know. It's going to be great.
Let's talk a little bit about these reviews. So you have Stephen Cole, gave it a rotten review from Globe and Mail, said, always preposterous, though never actually silly, knowingly funny without ever being self-conscious. Fast 5 is a passable action flick that will more than entertain its core audience. On the other side of that,
We got Mick LaSalle, who said, the first sequel to the 2001 The Fast and Furious that's worth watching, that isn't an embarrassment or a travesty of the original picture.
see, that's to me very harsh on 4. I don't think 4 was that bad.
I don't think it was a travesty.
Yeah.
I think Tokyo Drift was a travesty.
Though it's weird, like when you talk to people who love this franchise, they love Tokyo Drift.
Really?
Tokyo Drift is like a cult classic. People.
I mean, the
love-
driving's sweet in it because it's like a different type of racing.
Yeah,
But
what is drifting? What is that?
drifting is where you take corners and like you pull your e-brake so the back of your car like whips around and
okay.
peels out, so you can take corners going high
I thought it
speeds
was
and keep
something more
going.
interesting. The thing where you pull your e-brake. That's what it is.
That's it. Yeah, and you take just turning. That's it. We're so white.
Yeah, very much so. Whatever.
Honey, what's drifting?
Yeah.
The kids are talking about it.
First sequel to yeah. I don't. I think that these reviews are both kind of like.
Well, it's interesting. I pulled the first one because it's like it's not even a negative review.
No, it's not really.
It's actually kind of like lukewarm.
Yeah.
And then the second one I pulled for that exact reason is because I think it was a little harsh.
Yeah, but also like lukewarm. Like it's just all it says is that it's worth watching.
Yeah.
It doesn't even say it's good.
No, it's definitely a good movie.
Yeah, this is a good action.
Its biggest fault is that it is 20 minutes too long.
Yeah, and like that one scene, I was trying to decide how I felt for the one scene where Toretto's talking to O'Connor about his dad. And I remember everything.
Yeah.
Because like you only get a couple scenes like that, but I think they wanted to like make the movie have a little more substance and like their relationship.
Trying to give a bit of a soul.
And he's gonna be a dad and everything, so they wanted to do that. But that's like that's one of those moments where you're just like, I wonder if this movie's better or worse without this.
Right. Like,
You know?
does this part matter at all? And it doesn't, I don't think, because when you just mentioned it, I
forgot that
I
it
was like,
happened.
oh yeah, that did happen. That was touching, I guess.
There's also like the whole entire thing, which is just that like the bad guy and all of his scenes are totally useless.
I know.
Like
He does not need to be in the movie.
like Hobbs needs motivation to,
He does.
to join the team.
Yeah.
So the bad guy has to kill everybody. So that's that. Let's talk about favorite line.
Let's do it.
we kind of alluded to this earlier. Originally my favorite line is when The Rock first meets his deputy, who ends up, I think. Does she end up with Vin Diesel in the next movie? Is that what it is?
I think so.
Or in
I think it's either in
6.
6 or 7 that it happens.
Well, so I must have seen 6 at some point. I have to, because I feel like I remember too many of the things that happen in between. Because then Letty comes back and she replaces her, right?
Yeah.
In 7?
Yeah, she comes back in 7, replaces her. So it must have been in 6.
Must have been in 6.
She comes back from the dead.
Yeah, totally. And that's the end of this movie that you see that? Is after the credits?
Oh, is it?
I turned it off.
I did too.
I forgot to
I had to go.
But I think when I saw it in theaters, but so there's that line when he first shows up and he's like, what do you need? And he says the first thing and he's like, and stay the fuck out of my way. Which is like, that was like my first original.
That was my first one. Yeah, of course.
And then the other one is and we don't ever let them get in the cars. Those are like the 2 lines for me.
Right. That one was mine.
Yeah.
We don't ever let them get into cars. That was my main one. But the other one was when the safe is flying around and like just hitting shit and killing people, and Paul Walker's like, holy shit. Like there was something about it, I was like, yeah, dude, that would be fucking terrifying.
Nuts.
Pulling that thing at like those high speeds and just flinging all over the place.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But I like that part.
We've got a hero villain ranking to pull up here.
We do. I didn't rank Hobbs
at all?
I didn't.
Oh, just because
I just didn't. I mean, I don't know. I just didn't do it. Like, I think he's cool. I enjoy him.
Like, you didn't rank him because you feel like he isn't good enough, or because of like a Gerard situation?
Well, I have Gerard on mine. I know.
That's crazy to me.
I know.
I think I put him directly ahead.
You did.
Of right? Like it looks like he is 1 spot behind Gerard for me. Looks like he's number 20 on the heroes list. I just couldn't say.
Oh wait, this is villains. I put it on villains.
Oh, you put it on villains.
Yeah, because they're anti-heroes.
I guess that's where I put Gerard.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I just couldn't do it. I don't know why. Like, I do really like him, but I looked at the other people on the list and I just didn't want to put him on.
Jeez, man, he's like one of my. He is in this movie my single favorite part of this entire franchise.
He is the best part of other than the quick drag racing scenes with all the pretty girls. He is the best part of the franchise, but I don't know, man. I just couldn't do it. I don't know why.
Well, so okay, moving over to where we ranked the film. Top. So you didn't rank, and I didn't rank any heroes.
Yeah, we didn't rank the heroes. Although it is interesting to think of putting Paul Walker and Vin Diesel as a team. That I might do at some point.
Yeah, maybe. This one,
but they're so different.
Yeah, I mean, there's like the scenes at the beginning when they're stealing the cars are pretty sweet, but
yeah,
like that's a cool heist.
I know. I really like the pulling the car over. Yeah,
that's a cool theory. So it looks like I put this directly behind Under Siege and directly ahead of Kingsman's Secret Service. I put it at number 37.
And I put mine at 44, directly behind Furious 7 and right ahead of
Gone in 60 Seconds.
Gone in 60 Seconds.
So you like this movie not as much as Furious 7. I didn't realize you liked 7 as much.
I just remember watching 7 and leaving and being like, fuck, that was awesome.
Yeah.
Like, that was a good time. And you know what? I felt the same way when I left 5.
Yeah.
But there still is that sticking in my head of when I walked out of 7, however many months ago, and it just being like, God, this movie was really kind of crazy and kind of dumb, but really enjoyable.
It pains me that Tombstone is behind this movie.
I
for
know.
you.
I thought I saw that. I put there. I was like, oh man, I'm never gonna hear the end of that.
So that is where we rank the films, guys. Eventually, at some point, there will be like a comprehensive list we can put up somewhere. We should figure out where to do that. Like, if it's a pinned tweet, maybe on the Twitter. That has the lists that you can just like scroll through them.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what we should do.
We gotta do that.
It'd be fun for people to see the whole list because we just referenced it for a second here.
If we could like link a drive link that they can't edit. And they can just see them updated all the time. But
that sounds complicated. I feel like we could upload like a tweet that had 4 pictures. I think you can do that, multiple pictures in one tweet, and it would just be the 4 slides, and they could just scroll through them.
Yeah.
We could just update it every week.
Okay. Try that out.
So we're gonna do something new here right now. We don't want to do a recast, so what we decided we would do is 3 actors or actresses that we both thought would be sweet to pitch for future Fast and the Furious franchise movies, because they keep adding people, Jason Statham and Kurt Russell. Just like, who do you think would be an awesome ad? You don't even necessarily have to have a character. It's just like find
just
a place
people
for
that
them.
you would like to see in the franchise.
So I'm gonna start with our boy Gerard Butler.
Gerard Butler.
He fits.
Oh, that's awesome.
He fits so fucking hard.
Oh, that's great.
Right?
Yeah, I think he'd be very good in there.
Amazing. Just
as a bad guy?
I don't even know. Maybe just a drunk at the bar.
Yeah. He's just an alcoholic in the movie.
Maybe he owns a shop, but he's like they go to tune cars up, and he owns a shop. And when shit goes south, he like jumps in and he like helps him, because he's actually a badass ex-military.
Yeah.
Ranger Battalion. Just put Mike Banning in these movies.
That's all you need. I went with Jai Courtney.
Oh yeah, he fits.
I just feel like he's the type of person to be in one of these movies, even though I don't really like him that much.
So you're doing the thing that I found myself doing repeatedly as I'm coming up with this list, where I was like, yeah, that guy feels like he would fit in the movie.
Right.
I did the same thing with Mark Wahlberg, where I was like,
Oh, you
yeah.
put Wahlberg in too.
I didn't use him.
Oh, that's a good one though, I think.
Right. In my mind, I was like, oh, Wahlberg would fit. And then I was just like, but do I really want to see Wahlberg in these movies? Like, do I think he makes them better?
Right.
And I was like, I don't know if he does. Same with Jai Courtney. It's like, he fits like he feels like these movies.
Right.
But like, does he make them better? I don't know. I like Jai Courtney, so maybe he does.
I don't think he really would, but he was just one of those. He just was the first person that popped in my head. Yeah.
All right. So this is an interesting one. Sigourney Weaver. So, because I think Sigourney Weaver, I like the idea of having like a matriarchal, like powerful female figure who's like some sort of a crime boss.
Yeah.
Or is like, kills one of them or is holding them hostage.
You think Sigourney over Julianne Moore for that?
They'd both be sweet.
Right.
Weaver's just really badass.
She is.
And I just think like, I was trying to imagine like a situation where she's actually somebody's mom maybe, or she's someone's, but like just the idea of her being like, she doesn't ever drive, and then like she has to, she's like really sick.
She's like really good at it.
Yeah. I like Sigourney Weaver, so.
This is a weird one, but I want Sam Worthington.
He's the same guy as Jai Courtney. He looks
exactly.
He looks
exactly, but he's smaller. But the thing is that this guy was on top of the world 6 years ago.
They just go as brothers.
They're just twin brothers.
Yeah.
And the third one is the same thing. All three of them are the same fucking thing, which is why I want to switch out the third one.
Who? They're all buzz cut white guys?
Well, the other one's Charlie Hunnam because of it. But instead of him, I crossed him out and I put in Taron Egerton. I want Taron Egerton to be in more movies.
You're just going with like muscular, good-looking,
Taron
buzz
Egerton
cut
is,
white guys.
Taron Egerton is not any of those things. He's white. He is muscular.
They all
he could
fit.
shave his hair.
They all fit.
Well, that's the thing is that like that's with these movies.
Yeah.
That's the point.
That's what you get.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah, I know exactly. That's the other direction you can
Right.
go. Is you can make this an fucking Expendables movie. 'Cause
Yeah.
that's like what it starts to feel like. Channing Tatum drops the mic.
Channing Tatum. I like it.
He can do action, but he's funny.
Oh, totally.
And I love his comic relief.
I just feel like he would definitely steal the show, just like The Rock did.
Yeah, which I'm fine with.
Yeah. Would he be a good guy or a bad guy?
I
I
don't
want to
know.
see him be a bad guy.
If he's a bad guy, I have a hard time taking him seriously.
Yeah.
If he's a good guy, this actually might be the wrong direction for him. This might be like putting Channing Tatum in G.I. Joe and just like he just sucks.
Right.
He's just like not interesting. He's at his best when he's able to be like handsome but also poke fun at himself.
But Sam Rockwell as a bad guy.
I love Rockwell in these movies.
Yeah.
That's a great
That'd
idea.
be sweet.
Yeah, like basically the Iron Man 2 bad guy.
Ignore everything else I said.
Fair enough. So that pretty much wraps us up. We are going to get into categories right now. Which of the 3 action movie categories does this movie fit into? There are 3 categories: totally ridiculous, totally legitimate, and ridiculously legitimate. Totally legitimate are movies like The Matrix, The Fugitive, Terminator 2. They're very grounded. They hold together extremely well. They're well-reviewed, dramatic. There are totally ridiculous movies that like Face Off and Con Air that are just absurd and laughable the whole way through. And there are movies that are ridiculously legitimate, which are kind of the hybrid category of like really grounded with a couple bits, maybe some drama, some performances, but like kind of make you laugh unintentionally at a bunch of different parts.
Right.
They tend to be our favorites. That's like Point Break, Speed, Predator, The Rock.
Yeah.
So which of those 3 categories is Fast 5? And that's a hard one.
It is tough, but you know what? I think I'm going to go back to Stephen Cole's review here. It says, always preposterous, though never actually silly, knowingly funny without ever being self-conscious. I believe, like, I partially agree with that, but I think it knows it's funny and it's self-conscious. Like,
Yeah.
I do think it falls in the middle category.
It totally falls in the middle category for me because there's too many things about it that are like, there's too many things about this movie that I could go up to the bathroom and come back, or go refill my popcorn and come back,
Right.
miss something, and it matters.
Does not matter. Yep.
I missed nothing.
But you don't ever find yourself sitting there and being like, God, really?
Yeah.
Really? You know?
like Gal Gadot, we see her bikini scene and she gets a handprint, and that's how they get it's like, I could just miss the whole scene and it just doesn't mean anything.
No, you can totally forget about the scene.
You could miss most of the movie and it just continues. So that's
So does that make it...
it makes it in the middle category.
Yeah.
Ridiculously legitimate
Okay.
because the action's super engaging. The Rock is super commanding.
Yep.
It's fun. It's really fun to watch. It's engaging the whole time. But you definitely tune out at times because it's like, this is
'Cause you don't need to.
It's a little too silly.
Yeah.
So that's what I'd say.
All right, we got I think we got one more thing today.
Yeah, it's called
The Pitch.
We've been taking submissions from you guys the last few weeks, and we've been pulling movies to poll against each other on our Twitter, which is at AMA Podcast. We're going to ask for 2 things from you guys right now.
Yep.
The first one is new segments. We would like to add some segments to the show, so if you guys have things that you think would be fun, little games that we can play that don't take longer than 2 or 3 minutes, similar to the ones we've done on the show, go ahead and pitch them. You can tweet them at AMA Podcast. I'm at Ben Bateman Media.
I am at Andrew Ghai, and don't put him in the live chat because this is gonna be lost real soon.
Yeah, put them on YouTube. You can even, I guess we don't have an email, but leave them on YouTube. Just like outline them in a couple sentences, and if you want to give us a name for it, we'll see if we like it. Maybe try it out. Maybe even just test it out 1 week.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we will definitely test them out. There's no reason not to.
So that is 1, and then 2 is we're going to pitch 2 movies right now against each other, and this is going to be laughable for you guys, but it's okay because we have to do all of the movies that we like.
Sure do.
So 20 years ago, there was a movie that came out called
The Ghost and the Darkness.
I've never seen this film.
It is awesome. So The Ghost and the Darkness are the names of the 2 killer lions that Michael Douglas and Val Kilmer are hunting down because they're terrorizing a town and killing everybody. It is awesome. It's a sweet 96 movie. Kilmer's on top of his game. Douglas is still super sweet. And they're just like awesome hunters with killer lions.
We're on board with this, even though I've never seen it, because The Edge was such a success.
Right.
And The Edge is another 90s movie about people chasing an animal or being chased by an animal
Right.
that's like really under the radar and just it was like maybe the most fun we've ever had on the show.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm fully in. I'm going to pitch another film.
And it came out about 10 years ago, I believe.
Yeah, just about.
I think it was 2006-ish.
2007.
7, okay.
This was the second to last. No, this wasn't the second to last. This must have been the next movie he made after Man on Fire, I guess. Yeah, there's dominoes in between. Tony Scott made 5 Denzel Washington movies. You guys know how much I love and Andrew loves Tony Scott.
Love them
Huge
together.
penchant for Tony Scott working with Denzel Washington. Deja Vu, also Val Kilmer.
Yeah.
So it's Fat Kilmer.
And it's
though.
Fat Kilmer. So either way, it's
Yeah.
a win-win for me. I don't
Yeah.
really care.
And this movie's actually not great, but very sweet. Like, I'm a big fan of this movie. The last time I watched it, I was like, this movie is just actually sweet. Denzel's at his best.
It's better than you think it's going to be.
Yeah, this movie, it's Jim Caviezel plays the villain. Jesus. It's sweet. I like it. I enjoyed this movie a lot.
It was the first time I saw Fat Kilmer.
Yeah.
I was shocked.
He had been missing for a little bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are the 2 movies, guys. It's gonna be The Ghost in the Darkness versus Deja Vu. We're gonna put up a poll at MA Podcast. Go vote. Let us know what you think. And other than that, thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you next week.
Goodbye.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Popcorn Talk Network or its owners and principals.